Good morning, and thank you for joining us for the AP Upload webinar. This morning, we're going to talk about several things. Oh, I'm sorry, let me introduce in the room. We have Kathy Blackburn, Joanne Callahan, and Michelle Morin, and I'm Kathleen Spencer. I'm the AP manager. So we're going to talk about a couple of things this morning. We're going to talk about what an AP Upload is, the types of worksheet templates that we use, the appropriate documentation, and also we'll go over a few tips. So an AP upload is a way to pay a supplier or individuals. If you have 10 or more payments in one of the below categories, the AP upload is available, and this is to be used instead of keying each payment. So those types are prizes and awards, stipends, services rendered, preceptor payments, refunds, and also participants. There are two types of worksheet templates available. The first one is for regular payments, and then the second is single payments. A regular payment worksheet is for payments that have a supplier ID and have either an invoice number or a date of service. These are for participants and stipends, services rendered, and if you have 10 invoices for the same supplier. So this is what a regular payment worksheet template looks like. If you'll notice, this is the same information that is on a payment request. So you're going to have your name, your supplier ID, an invoice number, your date, amount, and then your accounting information. So next we're going to look at one that has been filled out. So this is a regular payment. This is a regular payment worksheet. These are for stipends. So as we work through, you see you have a supplier name and your ID. And then for an invoice number, normally stipends will not have an invoice number. So we want to give it an invoice number so that we can find it again once it has been keyed into the system. So in this case, we're going to say, we're going to use the month and the year. So we know exactly which stipend this is paying for this particular person. Next, we're going to talk about the email example. So when you have completed your template, you're going to want to send that in an email to apuploads at mailbox.sc.edu. So when you send your email, you'll want your template, but you also have to have an AP upload approval form. And then you're going to want to include any documentation that's required. And the documentation required will be the same documentation that is listed on your payment request matrix. When you work on a single pay worksheet template, these are for one-time payments where the supplier ID is not needed. And generally, this is just for refunds. So it's refunds to companies and individuals. If you are not working on a refund, then you very likely need to be on the regular worksheet template. This is an example of the refund payment form. You'll see you'll need to include the name. If you have a supplier ID, you do want to include that, but you want to include the mailing address and the amount as well. And then on the bottom of half of the form, this gives you the opportunity to put in your accounting information. So here's an example of the single pay worksheet. You'll see that really the only difference on this worksheet is the first few columns, which are going to ask you for the name and the address, the city, state, and zip. The rest of this information is the same that is on the regular worksheet and also on a payment request. So this is an example of the refund. And of course, a refund is going to go on the single pay worksheet. If you'll look through, you've got your supplier name and the address, including the city, state, and zip. And then again, for an invoice number, generally a refund isn't going to supply you with that number. In this case, we're going to use the last name and also the date. And this helps us if we need to look this payment up again. And from there, of course, it's just your date and then your accounting information as well. The appropriate documentation for uploads, Every one of them has to have an AP upload approval form. And then the documentation from there depends on the type. If you have a service, you're going to want to include your invoice or a memo. And if it's for a utility, you'll want to include that statement. And then also you'll want the regular pay worksheet template. For stipends, participants, mentors, and honorariums, you'll need to attach the applicable forms, your regular pay worksheet template, and all required documentation that's listed on the payment request matrix. Now refunds, you'll need the refund payment form, and remember this will be a single pay worksheet template and supporting documents. Refunds, usually one of the supporting documents will be a deposit transmittal form, and that's just to show that the university has paid that amount and now we're refunding it. And again, always remember to use your payment request matrix so that you'll include the correct documentation. Next, we're going to look at an AP upload approval form. This needs to be sent with every upload. When you look through it, you'll see the name is on the first line. The name of the AP upload is for your records. This is not for accounts payable. So when you name it, you want to name it something that will make sense to you. Our next one is the date, and then the person submitting the upload, the department. Now the number of payments, this is going to be the number of lines on your spreadsheet, or it's going to be the number of refund forms included. Then you want the total. And the next line is payment handling. This is your opportunity to let us know how you want us to handle this payment. So if you're wanting to pick it up, you want to say, you know, hold for pickup and include the name and the number of the person that's going to pick it up. That way we can call that person and it doesn't just sit. That way we can get that check to the person that's picking it up. If you don't have any kind of special instructions, you can put mail out checks, and that's what we will do. You'll see the next section is for the approval and the contact name, and note that the person submitting this form can't be the approver. A few tips as you're working on your upload. Please be sure you're using the correct spreadsheet template. So remember, if it's not a refund, then it's very likely that you need that on the regular template. Please don't modify the template in any way. Don't put formulas or move, change, or delete the columns. And don't skip any rows. And double check your chart field information to make sure it's valid. And then as you include your backup, remember that the AP upload must have the approval form. Don't forget to include your spreadsheet, and be sure to check your payment request matrix to make sure that you've got all the documentation that goes with that particular upload. Some of the common errors we see are use of special characters, and our upload can't process these, so don't use any special characters. Invalid chart fields due to keying errors, and also incorrect formatting. So we're going to take a look at the sheet and kind of go through how you can check for the errors. So as we're looking through our spreadsheet, we're going to start with the supplier ID column. If you'll look, you'll see this drop-down menu here, and this will show you all of your supplier IDs. Supplier IDs have 10 digits. So as we look through right off the bat, we can see that this first one is missing a number. And as we scroll down, that's true on our last one as well. So let's go into the column and correct those. So our first one is Abel Samuelson. And luckily on this spreadsheet, he's on here more than once. So I can just look up and see, here's his supplier ID number. So we'll correct that. If that weren't the case, if it was not already included, you'll need to go look up the correct supplier ID number. And as we look down, we can see here's the other one, which is Jared Goodwin. He also is on the spreadsheet. And he, I believe, is missing a 0, and he is. So we'll go down and add his 0. Okay, so now if we go up and use our drop down, we can see that they're all uniform. Next is our invoice number, and we are using the date and year for our invoice number. And this one we can kind of just scroll down real quickly and see that they all appear to be correct. The other thing you want to look for is your formatting. So we're going to highlight, and we can see in this box up here that it's all text. And when you look in the yellow top of the column, you'll see that it should be text formatting. So our formatting here is correct. Next, we're going to look through the date. And with the date, we can see that this date is not formatted the same, excuse me, as the rest of the column. So to correct that, we're going to go to the column above and copy, and then come down, and we're going to paste. So now we see that our formatting is all the same. We can also use our drop down to look at that. We'll move over to the amount column, and using the drop down, we can see that one of our amounts is different. And if it's supposed to be, that's fine. But in this case, we want them all to be 50. So we're going to correct that as well. And then use our drop down, and we can see that it's corrected. Working through to the operating unit, here we can see that we've transposed a number, and this gives us the opportunity to correct that. As we work through department, we can see this one has a transposed number as well. So we'll work down to it and correct that. Come up, and we can see that now they are all the same number. Our fund column looks fine, as does our class field. And that brings us to the last column. The last column, and of course, we will have been checking formatting all the way through. On this one, we'll highlight it, but we can see that it's general formatting, and it should be text formatting. So here we can use the drop down, find text, and change the formatting so that they match. So that's just some tips on how to go through and check your spreadsheet and make sure that you don't have any of those errors. And at this point, it'd be ready to save and then attach to your AP upload email. Next, we're going to talk about how to look up a voucher from an AP upload. We're going to talk through it, and then I'll show you an example. So our navigation for this is main menu, accounts payable, review accounts payable information, vouchers, and then voucher. Once you pull this up, you will have several options on search, relevant information, that, and then you'll want to hit the search at the bottom of the sheet. And when you do, you'll scroll down to the bottom, you'll click search, and then you'll be able to review your results. It allows you to review voucher details and payment information by clicking on the Actions button. So let's take a look at one. So again, our navigation is going to be main menu, and then it's going to be accounts payable, review accounts payable information, vouchers, and voucher. And here's our screen to search. I'm going to use an invoice number from one of our previous examples. And then I'm going to scroll to the bottom of the screen. We're going to give that another shot. There it is. So now we'll scroll to the bottom and hit search. And this will bring up our information. So here, just from our first search, we can see the voucher ID, we can see the invoice date, and some other information. But what we really want to do is take a look at this actions drop down. And from here, we're going to look at payment information. And this will give us the check number, the payment date, and the amount paid. If you click on the check number, this gives you some even more information, and that will tell you when it was paid, and also if it's cleared the bank. This is really good information to use when you get a phone call asking, about a payment. It allows you to tell them, when it was sent, and also the check number that was sent. So here are some resources that you can use that have been referenced in this presentation. On the PeopleSoft training related resources page, you can see that there's the accounts payable and reimbursement option. And also it'll provide you with some support contacts for payables and also the email for upload. Next, you want to take a look at the controller's website. And on the controller's website, there's a lot of good information for you, but in particular, it will show you the information that we went over for the AP uploads, but you'll also find where the templates are. So the regular pay, the single pay, also the refund form and the approval form. And it also gives you a link to the email address, the AP upload email address. So this is really good information all in one place. Okay, and do we have any questions? Okay, well, if not, thank you so much for joining us. Oh. We have someone typing, so.
How did we see the check number again?
Oh, we can go back through that real quick. Okay, so once you've done your search, at the bottom of that page, it'll bring up this voucher inquiry results. You're going to hit the actions button, and this will bring up several options. From these options, you want to hit on the payment information, which will give you the check number and the payment date. And for more information, if you click on that check number, then that will tell you, the payment method, that it was a system check, the check number, the payment date, and also that it has cleared the bank. Okay. Okay. Wonderful. Well, thank you again for joining us. And hopefully we have answered any questions, but if not, be sure to reach out and we'll be happy to help.